Hi, and welcome to Albuquerque's Most Iconic Businesses, presented by Moji Cinema. I'm your host, Stacy Sacco. I'm the previous director of the UNM Small Business Institute, as well as having taught entrepreneurial studies courses at the UNM Anderson School of Management for over 20 years now. And I'm currently working as the site mentor for the UNM Rainforest and UNM Taos Hive. I'm delighted to have Guy Berger from Palms Trading Company with us today to talk about his best business practices. But first, we're going to break away and watch the Origins film to see how the business was started.
My grandfather ended up here in about 1919, came through Ellis Island, and there was a depression going on in Italy at the time. So a lot of those people tried to come to America to have a better life. His name was Guido Del Frate Sr., and he had two brothers, Giuseppe and Francesco, and together with his brothers started the Palms Beer Garden in 1933. They got together one day and they were trying to decide what to name it, and I guess they were sitting in a back room where there were some cases on the wall and there was some liquor with a palm tree on it, so they thought, let's call it the Palms Beer Garden and we'll get a couple of palm trees and put it in a patio. And well, they didn't really realize that palm trees don't grow very well in Albuquerque in the winter time, so anyway, the name stuck. The original location was on Rio Grande and Central. And they had a deli liquor and then the Palms Food Market, which was on this property. And that's where they started, and they would sell drinks and food and just anything to try to make a living. Toward the end of the 60s, the chain stores started coming in and they were putting the little guys under a lot of pressure. And so my uncle Angelo was running the store at the time and he didn't really know what to do. But what he had been doing was trading jewelry with the natives from Cañoncito and Santo Domingo for sacks of flour and beans and lard, whatever they needed. Well, the finances got bad. And so there was a guy that lived down the street on 12th Street in Lomas that asked my uncle, hey, let me take some of this jewelry to Arizona. I hear it's selling real well. And my uncle said, well, here's a couple beer flats of jewelry. Go see what you can do. Guy comes back 3 days later with $15,000 in cash. And so my uncle thinks, what the heck are we doing in the grocery business? So they sold the liquor license and they started buying more jewelry, and he would go to Gallup and he would go to Zuni, and they added pottery later and rugs. And that's how that all started. In that time frame, I would help them out in the summer times. My uncle gave me a job and I would come in a few days a week to help them out in the front and learn about it. And I always enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing the artists come in with new things and meeting the people and selling things. And I always kind of had an idea that I'd like to have a small business. Well, somewhere along the line, Bill and Angelo started to kind of butt heads and have different ideas and made Angelo mad. So he said, to heck with you, I'm gonna sell this place. And the business was really doing good, but my uncle and I were very close friends. He said, God, you wanna buy this place? And I'm like, yeah, right, I'm a 27-year-old kid, I can afford to buy palms. And he goes, no, I'll work with you. And a coworker of mine, Jim Franchini, and I decided that we were gonna try to do it. So we met with the Del Frates and we bought the business in 1988. And in 1999, I bought Jimmy out. And so we have the company ourselves now. We bridge the gap between the native world and the collector world. They know that we're gonna be here every day buying and helping them out. And so the collectors know that we're gonna get a brand new infusion of merchandise every week. So we're here kind of in the middle to facilitate that. And it's been a special pleasure. I mean, we've become friends with hundreds of them and helped them and been invited to weddings and baptisms and funerals. And it's just so nice to be included as part of that community. And that tells me that we've been treating people right.
We're in a very unique industry that allows us to cultivate these relationships with the artists. In New Mexico, the Native American culture is so rich, and you get to know the people and you get to know why they're doing what they're doing and how they learned and all about their family history, and it's a really special thing.
getting their stories out there, I think, is really, really important because it's a rich culture and just generational things that go on within these communities. You know, stones for polishing pottery are passed down through generations. So some of these potters creating now have stones that their great-great-grandparents used. And it takes a ton of care and a ton of work to craft. And I think it just kind of encompasses everything about what we do.
I think that one thing is that we do something that not very many people can do because we're so unique in that we buy direct, paying a fair price, treating the artist with respect so that they can continue to have pride in their work and they sell it to us. And then on the other hand, sell it for a fair price. If people say, buy at Palms, because those guys have the best prices and one of the best selections there is.
The biggest thing that we sell here that everybody knows us for is going to be jewelry. You know, everybody thinks of turquoise jewelry, but we deal in almost all semi-precious gemstones. We deal in shells, all sorts of stuff like that. We sell pottery. We have Native American artifacts that are handmade out of the Gallup area and out of the Grants area. We sell stuff out of Mexico right now. We have a great group of folks in Mata Ortiz, awesome group of potters. Our goal is to get to know the artist and to bring that to the people who don't know the artist. And I think that adds to our trustworthiness. And on top of that, we know what we're buying is authentic. We're an authentic business. We work with the artists day in, day out. We know their struggles, they know our struggles, and there's nothing hidden behind the doors. And I think those are the biggest 2 points of culture you get with Palms Trading Company.
I think Palms is unique because we have remained a family business for so long and stayed within the Albuquerque community for so long. We're very down to earth. We want to help Native American artists. We have established a scholarship fund. It's donation based only, and every year, depending on the amount in the account, we try to give between 1 and up to 4 scholarships to Native American high school seniors. So we're really trying to help these kids get to school and continue their education.
Being part of a family business is just something that gets me excited every day. The fact that it could be my turn to take this business to somewhere else that it's never been, or to take it through a challenge that we've never been through. And the fact that we can continue to say that our family has a legacy, which is a store, that's something really powerful and really special to me.
To have a place I think that I can be proud of when somebody walks in that door and has a feeling of, this is a great place. This is an old-fashioned trading post with a wood floor and silver dollars, and look at the beautiful native jewelry and pottery and rugs, and it's just a good feeling to get a compliment and to say, hey, I've been coming here since my parents brought me here in the 70s or 80s, and we just love your place. And the pride of having a place that's unique and that people keep coming back to, you just know that they feel comfortable. They know their longtime customers are going to get a fair price on their merchandise, whether it's a seller or a buyer. And I think that gives me great pleasure.
So, Guy, welcome
Thank
to
you.
Moji Cinema.
Thank you.
Excited to meet you.
I'm
Been
happy
to your
to be
store
here.
many times. I have some turquoise here today I usually wear, and a couple of those pieces are from your store. You guys have great product, great prices. It's great all the way around. So,
Well, thank you.
highly recommend it. So, if you were to say to somebody starting a business, what's the best approach to do that? I noticed you're really in the middle of a business. You're not making the jewelry, I don't think, but you're reselling it. So that's a different kind of a business. You're a retailer or wholesaler in a way for both B2B and B2C businesses. So if you were to recommend that to somebody, how would you say they should get started?
Well, I would say for one thing, don't be afraid. I think when you get in there and you're nervous or you're not sure what you're going to do, I think that hurts you. So if I was a little bit shy at first, but looking back on that, I would say jump in there and get after it. And don't be afraid to tell people no, especially. I think when we first started, you're so afraid somebody's not going to buy from you. Then they say, well, I want a 25% discount. You go, oh, okay, because we want to keep you. But I think over time you say, our product is good, we have a good value, and we think it's worth what we're charging for it. And so I would say, don't be afraid, stick with your guns, because once you start giving discounts and once you start agreeing to stuff like that, the customer always remembers, and I don't. So they said, back in 1992, you gave me a discount. And I was like, I did? Right. So I would say, stick to your guns. You got to make a profit. You got to pay your employees well to keep them interested and keep things going. So that's what I would say.
So when you started the business, I worked at West where we did micro loans. How did you finance the business? Did you work with somebody else? If you go to Kauffman Institute, they talk a lot about a lot of the businesses in the country get started on somebody's credit card. Well, that's not necessarily the best idea.
I did not start the business. I bought the business from my Uncle Angelo, so it was a little bit different dynamic, but I was working in the wholesale liquor business at the time, and I found a guy that was richer than me, and he could put up his assets. We both put our assets up, of course, but he kind of was the catalyst for the bank to say yes. So we borrowed the money from the bank with a business plan to say, this is how we're going to do it. We had a track record that my uncle had for many years, so the bank knew the business was successful. So I got a good partner at the time, and we just jumped in and started that way. So that's how we did it.
So one of the areas that we work with in terms of helping somebody start a business is you'll do that business plan. More and more businesses are now doing the lean model with the business model canvas, one-page business plan. But my sense of it is that I like that, but there's also some other detail you might want to add back in. So what do you use to do business planning on an annual basis? Do you plan out, you have a handwritten or written document?
Not anymore. At the time we did. We had to do that for the bank.
Yeah,
so
the bank.
We had a 5-year plan based on the history of the business at the time and what we thought we could go to with it. So, it's always an educated guess as to planning ahead, of course, but you can always plug in a number. We're gonna grow 5 or 10% a year, and then everything follows from that. If your sales are so much, then your expenses are gonna increase or decrease with that amount, with those numbers.
So from what I gather, part of your business is you're involving family members, but when you hire people, how do you onboard them? And then, because my sense of it is that you've kept a lot of employees a long time. That's unusual, I mean, there's a lot of companies have huge turnover and you don't. So how would you say, what can you do in the beginning to make sure that you keep people on board?
Well, I think that we just treat everybody fairly. We include them in the decisions of the business. We compliment them when customers walk in. But I'm very fortunate because my kids work with me. Diana, my daughter, takes care of the website, the Instagram, the Facebook, the accounting. My son's a general manager, which helps take care of the employees in all of our retail shops. So we're very fortunate in that regard. Years ago, somebody come in and ask for a job and we'd say, okay, sure, we'll give you a job, what the heck?
Right.
And those are the worst decisions ever. Sometimes you get a gem, but most of the time it's a lump of coal. So anyway, my son came in, and when we hire somebody, as far as onboarding you mentioned, he will walk them through every single aspect of the business, from greeting someone coming in, helping them, learning about the product, simple things like how to use the register, greeting people, making sure they know. Somebody asks where the restroom is. We don't just say, oh, it's over there in the corner. We walk them over and show them where it's at and whatnot. So I think it's just, we try to give them as much detail as we can, and so they don't have to assume or ask every time for, what do I do here? What do I do there? They already have an idea what to do.
One thing we talk a lot about in marketing classes is this idea of that you have something that differentiates you from the competitor. So it's called the unique selling point, or USP. And in retail, it's always sort of been about location, location, location. But I think you're way past that in terms of the quality of product. So rather than me answer my own question, but what is your unique selling point that you think keeps people coming back?
We hammer, let us help you experience the magic of Southwest art. And so, a location anymore, if you have a website, your location is all over the world.
That's right.
So you don't have to do that. Our unique selling point is we buy direct from the Native American people. We have a very unique product. It takes years to develop the skill to buy the stuff and to gain the trust of those people. When I first started, I bet it was 5 years before the Native folks felt comfortable with me. And today they'll come in and I'll make a price and they're like, he knows what he's doing. But before they're very skeptical. So I think just staying with it, listening to people when they come in, treating them fairly, and people say, well, how come this costs so much? Well, it takes hours and hours to make something. And if I try to skin the people that I'm buying from, you think they're going to come back? Right. So we've been there so long, I would not jeopardize that. So I try to pay a fair price, but not so high that the customer says, that's way too much, I'm not going to buy that, or I can't afford that.
So I was going to say, my sense of, because I know your business is, and I'm always referred to you guys, so I would imagine that a big part of your marketing, I hate to say that, I'm the old marketing guys, that you probably wouldn't give me much of a budget. It's about in a way, it's the word of mouth advertising. So, but you also have your website, which went to today, is great. I'd be curious, how do you split out your marketing budget and what's been working the best for you?
Well, let me tell you a previous story about that, and it makes me feel bad a little bit. I rent the building next door to the county voting, and they vote there, right? So we'll have people coming in during the voting season and say, oh, wow, how long have you guys been here? So in my mind, I'm saying, you suck at marketing because if they don't know about you, I haven't done a very good job. So word of mouth, yes. If someone says, you got to go to Palms, we got them. And once we get them in, and we treat them right. But I think we didn't do much marketing, but my son, Peter, has really done a great job with knowing when to place an ad in the paper or the Heritage Hotel magazine or whatever. And then Diana, of course, runs a sale every now and then. And we don't run sales on the same time every year. We try to spread them around a little bit because people can't anticipate when they're going to come. So we just kind of surprise them with a little sale here and there. We did learn a lot about marketing during the pandemic. We were shut down for 2 months.
Yeah, how did that go?
That was scary at first. But out of our retail stores, we have 4 retail stores in different Heritage hotels. So we pulled all the merchandise out of there. Of course, we couldn't have the public in, so we went in every day, locked the door, but we got very good at Instagram, Facebook, FaceTime. We could sell to our wholesale customers all over the country just by walking around, showing them what we have on the phone. So I'll take that, and I'll take that. So in a way, it really helped us because it forced us to use that stuff that we really were kind of only dabbling in at the time. And now it's full blown, that's what we do.
So my first job out of college was to work at a manufacturing company. We had all these distributors that were selling products. So you had to take care of them because they also have other things on the shelf. So I was curious, you have a lot of people in your channel. How do you take care of the folks that are making, the artisans that are making the jewelry and selling it to you? Do you do something with them to keep them happy with the way you're selling their product for them?
Well, I think, of course, you have to pay a fair price. That's the bottom line. But I think you have to make it comfortable for them to come in. And if you're beating them up on price every single time they come in, they're not going to want to come in. And my uncle always told me, pay them, guy, pay them what they're asking. But when you get backed up on it, you say, look, I've got 6 of these. If I'm going to get any more, we have to adjust the price. And that way they understand, you don't want to sell 1 at $1,000. You want to sell 1,000 at $100, which is a lot better. So if you try to get a lot of money for one thing, it's going to sit. And so we try to work with them to make them understand that, we're in this together. I need you. I need your product, but I still got to sell it too. So let's keep it moving, and that's good for everyone.
So a piece of running a business that a lot of people, once you're in it, you know it. Profits equal revenue minus costs. So I've always thought I've been involved in the revenue side. So how do we market and advertise? But the big thing that you better have in control is your costs. So I'd be curious, do you centralize part of your business to make sure you're more efficient? How do you run the business operationally to keep your costs down?
Well, again, we run everything out of the main store at Palms at 15th and Lomas downtown. So all of the merchandise that goes to the retail stores, it's entered into the systems at Palms and then delivered to the stores and checked in that way. So we keep everything, whether it's merchandise, payroll, whatever, is all centralized at our store in Albuquerque. So at the end of the month or in the payroll period every 2 weeks, the stores send their information in and we take care of it there. So it would be very hard to keep track of buying there and here and everywhere. So I'm pretty much there. I have a jewelry buyer. I do most of the buying with pottery and rugs and et cetera. But having everything there where I can kind of watch what's going on, I think that helps us to streamline and keep control of the merchandise. So we're not buying too much, we're not buying too high, et cetera.
Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your role as an entrepreneur, and then, what's a day in the life of you look like? It's not vacationing. You're probably there or thinking about it 24 hours.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, yeah, and the business has had ups and downs too. So you get into a pickle, and I have lost a lot of sleep over the years on how to fix things. But you just gotta keep plugging away. And like I said before, don't be shy. Jump in there and keep things going.
So a big part of your job is to manage people, but it's also probably managing you. So how do you manage your time? Do you have a planner, or do you prioritize things a certain way?
Well, me personally, in the morning, I have a cup of coffee and I have just a little leather notebook, not a to-do list basically, but this is what you got to look at today. And that's what I do. And I go into the store, and no, you don't get a lot of vacation. I haven't had a vacation in quite a while, because in our business, some businesses you can take off because other people take care of things. But what I mentioned before, when I buy stuff, people trust me to buy it. And as much as I like it, I kind of hate it too, because I have to be there a lot, or else people stop coming in, they'll go sell to somebody else. And then I also, of course, I'm trying to train my son and some younger people to do what I do. But no, if you're going to be successful, it's not about vacations. In my mind, it's having a great business. And I love hearing people come in and say, this is a great place. I love this place. And that's all the motivation
I'd say that.
need.
If you all haven't been there, go.
That's all the motivation that I need. But yes, I do worry about things. For many years, we've had recession, we've had wars, the Iraq War, the recession in 2008. All of these ups and downs, and you just got to kind of figure out a way. I've had some great artists that stuck with me. I've had customers that have really kept us afloat during those times, and I really appreciate those people. So you develop these relationships over the years, and everybody is in it together in our industries pretty much, because I need you, you need me. Let's just figure out a way to get it done.
I'd be curious. I used to be an examiner for Quality New Mexico. A big part of your business is quality, and that you have valued products to sell. How do you identify that one turquoise or one jeweler is better than another? Is it that you put it out there and if it sells, it sells? Or can you tell ahead of time, you look for certain things?
Well, yes, you look for detail, especially in jewelry. How's the bezel? Is the stone loose? How does it look? Is it gaudy? Does it have, sometimes it's just a subliminal look that, yes, that look. In pottery, it's the same sort of thing, because there could be little things wrong, a rub, a crack, or whatever. So you got to really look at things and make sure that it's the quality for the price you're going to put on it.
So, another part of what I was teaching at UNM was about family businesses. So, but I think having been around that, there's lots of issues. My dad owned an auto shop, and so he was the boss, but also the dad, and so you've got lots of different roles. So part of that is to, I think, have great communication. But what would you say about if you want to go in business with a family member, some things you might advise on the positive side to make sure it works?
Well, it reminds me of a scene from The Godfather when they were all sitting there, and Connie's boyfriend or husband said, "Oh, well, something about the business." And Connie said, "Daddy never discussed business at home." And I think we try to do that because it's family time. It's hard enough at the business. The kids are great, but every now and then, and I tease them, I said, you guys are adults, but sometimes you act like you're 5 years old again. Come on, guys. So it's hard on me a little bit because not necessarily keep them happy, but keep them engaged and realize that, hey, we're doing this to get better and make a good future for you guys. In fact, I told my wife on the drive to Denver, I'm really trying now to shape up the place, whether it's lighting or fixtures or financing or whatever, so that they're in great shape to take over, where they're not struggling to make ends meet. If my son wants to buy the business, I'm not going to hamstring him with so much debt that he can't make things work. So that's my goal, to try to have it in a good spot for them.
Well, Guy, what a pleasure to meet you. And I've got some holidays and some birthdays coming up, so I know where I'm going.
We don't have any limit to purchases at Palms, so
what's that?
We don't have any limited purchases.
Okay, well, I'll be there.
Thank you very much.
So pleasure meeting you.
Stacey.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.